it's Lotus here. Before we start, I actually just want to address I promise I'm not being abused. I burned myself making a fun cheesecake. It was my first time using tears. Okay, moving on. So, like many of us, I have been tuning in on the daily to watch the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard trial. Huge shout out to Emily D. Baker for her coverage on this and legal commentary, as she offers fascinating and engaging legal commentary. In addition, she facilitates a really welcoming channel, free of judgment and harsh politics that can be found on other LawTube channels. So, huge shout out to Emily D. Baker. You're the best. All right, fine. Enough simping for Emily, I guess. On to what I want to address in this video. Trigger warning, as we will be discussing intimate partner violence, domestic abuse, maybe even mentions of SA. I don't know for sure that I'll actually touch on those specifically, but because we are covering this trial and it is the basis of the defamation, it might come up, or just even the mention of this trial could be triggering for some of you. So just wanted to give that warning right now. Watching any trial, especially one surrounding allegations of domestic assault, or DA, I guess as I could call it from here on out, to appease the algorithm, can feel extremely voyeuristic at the very least and triggering at the worst. There are a lot of opinions on whether we should even be able to view the proceedings inside the walls of the courtroom, and that's what I'd like to offer my opinion on here today, actually. I'd like to offer my defense of Depp v. Heard and our tuning in and watching these goings on. The gallery is often filled with people who camped out the night before just to be one of the 100 permitted inside the courtroom for the following morning. Videos on just clips of this trial rack up millions of views in a matter of hours. LawTube channels have exploded in subscribers and viewership overnight. Many of us, myself included, appear to be devouring the contents of this trial with a veracity never before seen in any legal proceeding, possibly ever in our history, but certainly in recent memory. What makes this lawsuit so fascinating that it's captured the attention of millions all over the world? Where is the appeal in watching two people who fell out of love sick their lawyers on each other to so thoroughly obliterate the credibility of the other? Well, certainly one very notable factor is the celebrity of the plaintiff and defendant. Both Depp and Heard are considered among the Hollywood elite. Both have at least co-starred in big blockbuster films. Johnny Depp, in particular, has been a household name for decades now. These people are wealthy beyond most of our comprehension, and if the success of shows like Keeping Up with the Kardashians have taught us anything, it's that we're all curious to see how the elite go about their daily lives. There's another factor which contributes to our morbid fascination with this case, however, and that is a personal vicarious justice that is being played out live on international television. Whatever the outcome of this trial, many of us are living for the privilege of witnessing an abuser and manipulator being cornered and cross-examined by a professional litigator. One of Depp's lawyers, Camille Vasquez, has achieved queen status online for so deftly and respectfully defending her client, who at this point has presented more congruent witness testimony and evidence of perceivable damages to his person and career. Heard, who went so far as to record Depp while vomiting and falling unconscious, allegedly due to his substance abuse, has withheld most of her evidence from Depp's team. According to Heard, she supplied all of her documentation to her legal counsel, who, for reasons unbeknownst to her, did not then submit it into evidence. Maybe it was inadmissible, we're not sure. We'll probably never see that. According to Depp's counsel, they had not received the metadata at all, that is, the dates and times in association with photos and text submitted for evidence, until weeks before the trial. It was a direct order by the court that the metadata be handed over to Depp's counsel, and due to Amber Heard's team's hesitancy to do so, they are now facing sanctions by the court. Depp's counsel also claims that Heard's team used an unlicensed program to analyze these photos, despite Depp himself having offered to pay for a licensed program. In addition, Heard's legal team presented falsified evidence to the judge during one of the first days of trial, which led to one of Depp's witnesses being dismissed. This also led to motions to ban Amber Heard's current partner, Eve Barlow, from the courtroom, as it was she who handed her phone off to counsel with this falsified evidence, and she should not have even been permitted in that first row of the gallery because that is reserved for witnesses. That is reserved typically for witnesses and family. I don't know that they are considered family legally, but whatever. Anyway, either way, Eve Barlow was, as Emily D. Baker likes to say, yeeted from the court. For added context, and just to add insult to injury, the court actually ordered that no phones be permitted in the courtroom by anyone other than legal counsel. So, pretty sus. Heard's team has displayed all manner of similarly uncouth, shall we say, tactics, but their efforts have been in vain. Depp's counsel has been consistent throughout, and each member of his legal team has employed a knowledge of the law and an experience with trial, which simply renders Heard's team outgunned. I could talk for days about how strangely thrilling and fascinating it's been to watch these legal proceedings unfold. Of course, they wouldn't have been nearly so enthralling without the training wheels, so to speak, of legal commentary provided by YouTube. Still, I've seen countless comments from others avidly tuning in to share their own experiences with an abuser. Many of them have stated that Amber Heard's mannerisms or alleged behaviors reminded them of their own monsters, even when the genders were switched. I myself have been on the receiving end of years of intermittent emotional manipulation and abuse from someone who, like Amber, was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Another friend of mine who was far more destructive throughout my formative years, I suspect had histrionic personality disorder based solely on its criteria in the DSM-5, and that is, coincidentally, another of Amber's diagnoses, at least from the forensic psychologist who evaluated her in this trial. And Amber's mannerisms remind me so much of both of these abusers. It's no wonder I'm glued to this case. Amber has become the stand-in for many of our own personal bullies, and it is for that reason that I believe that it has been therapeutic to witness her reckoning. If she showed even an ounce of contrition, it would be far easier to feel empathy for her. However, she has instead doubled down on her claims and even added new, rather outlandish allegations to the mix, which are even far more difficult to parse. LawTubers have suspected that her lawyers are simply failing so miserably due to their building their case based on their client's specifications. Essentially, she's running the show. If that is true, it tracks well with her character. Her lawyers have been harsh and patronizing with all of Johnny's witnesses and have demanded answers for much less legally significant infractions against Amber. The hashtag analysis was a great example of this. Yes, that was a real thing, a hashtag analysis. And as many on LawTube have pointed out, it probably just did more harm to Amber's case than good to associate their client's name with all of the derogatory hashtags that have been circulating around the internet about her. That being said, there have been so many who have shared in chats, super chats, or comments that they find these proceedings to be deeply triggering. If that is the case for you, I implore you to take care of your mental health and take frequent breaks from the news regarding the trial. It can be really tempting to check in on a case like this when we've experienced trauma so similar to what's being described in court, especially because of the catharsis it can provide. However, those moments of catharsis may not be worth the trauma response that may also arise. That's something you'll have to stop and evaluate for yourself. Now that we've established the particular emotional connection that many of us may feel from this case, I'd like to take a look at the much more controversial reaction that we as a society have had. The memes. I'm going to say right now, I actually don't agree with making fun of someone's name or appearance. It's a really cheap shot at something that one has very little control over, and that is deeply connected to one's identity. Hashtag Amber Turd is schoolyard bullying that I just personally can't get behind, although I understand that it's in reference to very specific allegations that she left a surprise on Johnny's side of the bed one night while he was away. God, this woman is so toxic. I also strongly disagree with mocking any of what Amber described during her testimony, despite how absurd or bizarrely forced it came off. The descriptions of violence and abuse were clearly pieced together from actual victims' testimonies, either real or fictional, her own or someone else's. And mocking or dismissing those stories as entirely impossible can make real victims with similar experiences feel ashamed to come forward. The fact that most of what she has said has not added up in her own testimony, that makes perfect sense to criticize. And the way that she testified, I believe, is completely fair game, as most of us sense that it just did not feel authentic. Her crying on the stand came off very performative, and I do not say that lightly. While the average person would generally be trying not to cry in front of strangers and international television for fear of being perceived as weak or vulnerable, Amber appeared to be straining her every muscle to cry, specifically in the direction of the jury. This is especially unusual to those of us who witnessed her testimony thus far, as she kept reiterating in no uncertain terms how tough she is and how much she takes pride in that toughness. Note that I do not believe that it is weak to cry, but Amber's presentation of herself and her ideals did not seem to support the idea of seeing strength in vulnerability. Therefore, it's only natural that we would respond to such an outlandish display with confusion, amusement, and of course, memes. Ah, memes, the language of the internet. The memes have been harsh and they have been numerous. I myself made one and then removed it because I felt bad, only to find out the next day that the Twitch streamer Pokimane had made and shared the exact same meme. That was an amusing moment that I just had to share. And it is a mess, not only the trial, but the way that it's been handled by all of us in the virtual gallery. However, I really do feel that most of our reactions are fueled by that catharsis that I mentioned earlier in this video. I don't believe that all of those reactions can be justified, but I do believe that watching this trial and, yes, even mocking an abuser when she's caught in her lies has been extremely therapeutic for many. And that's the main reason that I feel our fascination with it is justified. Obviously, check yourself regularly. If you personally feel you shouldn't have said something, or maybe you shouldn't have shared a certain meme, or that you should take a step back from watching and reading about the proceedings, listen to your gut on that. However, I don't agree with people who've reduced this cultural phenomenon to nothing more than voyeuristic schadenfreude. Yes, there are plenty of toxic meninists and other women haters, men and women alike, who are going to use this to justify their beliefs. That's sadly inevitable, and I've carefully maneuvered that minefield myself over the course of these last several weeks since the trial began. However, I do believe that what is resulting from this is a net positive. Some abusers may reconsider their actions for fear of retribution, and people are learning how manipulators operate. Many are getting to witness a happy ending to a story similar to their own, which may bring them healing, and a ton of us are getting more educated on the American legal system. So, if you're feeling embarrassed or even ashamed at your interest in this case, I would ask that you go easier on yourself. You're only human, and maybe you feel that this is your only chance at receiving some sort of vicarious justice for wrongs that you've endured. Maybe you've discovered a new passion for law. Whatever's drawn you to this, just remember that Amber is not the person who may have wronged you. She is still a real human being with thoughts and feelings, even if those thoughts and feelings appear to be generally self-serving. I think in defense of the broadcasting of Depp v. Heard and the way that the internet has responded to the case, this one commenter on a recent Philip DeFranco video covering the subject said it best. Nope, as a victim of sexual abuse, I'm a laugh at Heard all I want. I'm not laughing at all the people who have spoken up about abuse, I'm laughing at the people who lie about abuse. The further we get into the case, the more evident it is that she is lying, and it throws the shadow of doubt on all of us who aren't lying. That's all I've got for y'all today. Like I said, I could talk about this for ages, and maybe I'll make more content on this in the future because I really have watched this entire thing and I've researched so many behind the scenes details of this case. If you would like more from me on the subject as a student of psychology, then please comment down below and let me know. Otherwise, comment and let me know what your favorite color is so that I know that you made it to the end of this video. If you did, you rock. Specifically you. I'm talking to you. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!